Hello and welcome to Classeek 15. I'm Michael Beek. I'm delighted to say my guest this week is Florian Riem, the General Secretary of the WFIMC, or World Federation of International Music Competitions. They oversee a global network of music competitions and organisations, each with the aim of discovering promising young talent in classical music. Florian, thanks so much for joining me today.
Likewise, very happy to be with you today.
Now, I'm sure you'd be the first to agree that competitions are important for young musicians and the development of their sort of career and things like that. But are they essential, do you think? Should all young musicians be thinking about entering competitions?
Well, looking at artists today, you can find plenty of artists that didn't do any competitions are still stars. So obviously, they're not essential. They're not a must, but they can be a great opportunity, a great chance for young artists to propel themselves into the circuit of international concert scene, concert houses, recording stages, and so forth. So it depends on your personality. It depends on your strength, on your energy. It depends on your interest. It depends on your teachers, on many things.
Is there an optimum time for a musician to be doing this? Is there a point in their sort of development that they should start thinking about competitions if they want to?
It's hard to answer that. And I'm asking that question to quite a lot of people too. And there isn't a set period of time that works for everyone. There's people that keep doing competitions for more than 10 years or until the very end, until they're too old and they cannot apply anymore. There's others that do one or two. Some start at a very young age with junior competitions. They get used to the process. They use it for themselves. Some others start very late. It's hard to say. There's not one way that works for everyone.
Sure. But there is, I guess, an emphasis on this sort of discovery of young talent and up-and-coming talent. Is there less of a sort of desire to find sort of more established talent or older talent? What are the sort of the ground rules, if you like, for age ranges in competitions?
Now, if I'm 35, I have different interests. I'm maybe not as eager to take part in lots of competitions. I might want to try one of the big ones just to prove myself. But on the other hand, one also has to see that the jury looking at artists always has to make a choice between the youngsters that might not be as perfect yet as they could be, but they have a huge potential for another 10, 20 years to develop. And then they're looking at people that are 30 or over 30, and they know that they won't be changing that much anymore. They won't be changing schools, teachers. They are more or less at the top of their career. So the question is, do you feel like ready to play as your best? Do you want to compete with all the youngsters that you know that are practicing 25 hours a day? Or do you think that's a stress that you don't really want to keep up with?
Yeah.
It really depends on your personality, on your overall view of what you want to do.
You mentioned the sort of the practice element there, the hours a day. Is it extra work for a young musician if they want to consider entering competitions on top of what already is probably quite a demand on their time?
It's certainly extra work if you do competitions with repertoire that you haven't played before, that you have to really prepare for, that you have to learn for the competition. It can be fairly relaxed if you do 3 or 4 competitions. No, competitions are never relaxing, but if you do several competitions in a row, like after COVID, there were so many, and I've met people that virtually went from one competition to the other. If the repertoire is alike, you get into the mood. It's possible. If it's good, I don't know. It's the classic way to prepare for a competition is to look at the repertoire a year in advance, to really think through it, to really consider what to do, to speak with your teacher, to make up your mind, and then work really hard. And the point of it all is really to grow above yourself. And of course, you can do that in a concert. You can play fabulous concerts, but a competition has this extra pressure. It has all these people that are really listening to you, and that appreciate you, which can help you to truly grow above yourself. And that's a huge opportunity, which otherwise is hard to get to. Of course, if you play at Carnegie Hall, you have another kind of pressure. You want to prove yourself, but it's not the same. If you know these people are, or if you know some of the jurors, especially, maybe you admire them. They're some of your idols that are listening to you. You want to really prove yourself.
And tell me, if there are any young musicians listening to this are considering this as a journey, what are the things that they should be thinking about first and foremost? What's the first step for somebody who wants to embrace this?
I think the most important thing is to look at the competition as an opportunity, whichever way it goes. Dropping out of the competition after the first round doesn't mean anything, but it can help you in many ways. I always meet people that come to a competition that are really frustrated. They messed up their first performance. They leave. They haven't met one person. They haven't talked to one juror, and they go back. They're frustrated and say, never again. And that's absolutely the wrong thing to do. I think you should go to a competition, and even if you drop out at an early stage, you should stay. You should take this opportunity to watch people play, to see everyone else, how they do, because they're all in the same situation. Then there is many opportunities around, especially in some of the bigger competitions. If you go to the Clyburn, for example, there are plenty of events, there are plenty of opportunities to meet people, to meet artists, to meet other competitors. And at the same time, you also, even if you drop out in the first round, you have a huge exposure because everything is broadcast on the internet now. Everything is live streamed. Mm-hmm. And this, in some of the smaller competitions, this might be small, but in some of the really big international competitions, there will be several thousand people watching you. And this alone is already a reason to go and try.
And how then would they navigate this? Because obviously there's so many competitions that take place all around the world. Should they be looking sort of locally first as a first step for a first competition, or should they be aiming, higher for the big ones? How does that work, do you think?
I think you should spend some time looking at a couple of websites, looking around, talking to friends, artists, teachers, and think at your particular stage in your career, what would be a good place to go. You might feel more comfortable in a local place. Maybe you don't want to go out to a huge city where you feel uncomfortable already because it's huge halls, many people you don't know, the way to get there, all these things that have nothing to do with making music might give you additional stress, might make you panic. So if you're not sure, if you just want to try and not take too much of a risk, then go to a local competition, go to a small competition. And they can be also really, really nice, because many competitions, not only the small ones, but also the big ones, of course, they really care about their candidates. It's in many places really like a family. You go there, you meet the organizers, you meet the people. And if you talk to them, if you try and stay in touch with them, they ask you to come back. They will remember you. And it's, as such, it's also an opportunity for future engagements. Competition is not only a place where you play once, get an amount of money if you're lucky, and you leave, and that's it. You go back, you perform, you stay in touch, you get additional opportunities through juries, through people that win in the future. You get invited again. There's lots and lots of chances that you might not know about at this very first moment.
I was going to ask that, obviously, if you enter a competition and you don't get past the first stage, you still got opportunities that come from having done that. You start a relationship with that organization or that competition.
Absolutely. You should stay anyway. You shouldn't go home. You should stay for the remainder of the remainder of the competition and listen to the others, listen to the winners, and make up your mind and see what you think about them.
I'd be interested to know just a little bit about the work that you do with the Federation and what the role of the WFIMC is, and also a broader view of competitions in general and how they've changed over the years and whether they've changed enough. What could you tell me about that?
Well, we are sort of the roof organization for, at the moment, 120 competitions all around the world. We communicate with them. We take care of them if they have certain issues, certain problems. We try and create rules, regulations that are somewhat unified and that guarantee a high standard, or the highest possible standard of artistic excellence, of fairness. We really don't want to exclude anyone. We really try. I mean, right now, because of the war, there was so many issues with certain competitors from Russia who didn't get accepted or who got cut at the later stage of the applications. So we try and help where we can and support both competitors and competitions. At the same time, we support winners, laureates of competitions. We have on our website artist pages where you can watch videos, where you can look at profiles of recent laureates of all our member competitions. We meet several times a year. We have conferences and try to learn from each other, try and see what the big competitions are doing, what the small competitions are doing, where there is innovation that needs to be talked about. There is so much going on, and it's wonderful to keep track about that and meet, because the competition world, it's somewhat separate from the what should I say, regular concert stage. But there is some absolutely amazing personalities in the competition world. And of course, they're all connected to promoters, to orchestras, to touring agents. So we get together quite a bit. We talk with each other and we try to learn from each other. Now, the second part of your question, how have competitions changed? Some have changed really a lot. Some have changed very little. But for us, it's really important to look at what competitions can do for today's artists after they win, because money is really the smallest part of winning a competition. We try and find out how to give maximum exposure, maximum opportunities to our laureates. And that, of course, includes concerts, concert tours, recordings, but it also includes career management. It includes workshops. It includes marketing advisories and all kinds of things. If you look at, for example, the Geneva competition, they're spending a huge amount of their budget only on what comes after the competition. It's the actual competition, the prize money, the winners' concerts. That's a small part. The actual process begins for them once the competition is finished. They really take care of their laureates, and they really try to get them their place in the music world. And it's fantastic to see when that works. So Geneva is one wonderful example that does that for many different instruments. But of course, there is lots of others that do this in different ways.
Perhaps we can talk a little bit now about what's in place in competitions to care for musicians, because you also talked about the stresses that come with competing. Do all competitions have systems in place to care for the sort of the mental well-being of the participants?
It again depends on the size of the competition and the amount of people that are there. If you go to a huge international competition, then they are very careful to protect you from journalists, from people just asking all sorts of questions. But staying in host families and being taken care of by the competition staff certainly helps a lot. Psychological care, I'm not aware of any particular program that competitions do, but they certainly care about their participants. It's not like you go there, you play, you go back to your hotel and you're all alone. It also depends, of course, on what you need. Some people really need to be alone. They don't want to see anyone. Some others need to talk, need to speak. And for that, I think host families are perfect, because they give you they put you in a family. It's a very warm, helpful atmosphere and everybody is supporting you. These families, they are doing this not because somebody asked them, oh, can you take care of some musician? They are interested. They are supporting their candidate. They're rooting for their candidate. They will come to the performances. They will listen. They will comment. They will support you from the very beginning to the end. And that's also a wonderful thing to have. Of course, it can, for some people, it can be difficult. There is some loners that really want to be on their own. But again, here it's hard to find one recipe that applies to all.
Of course, and the rigors though of competition and sort of the stress that comes with it. I suppose that sort of needs attending to occasionally. I wonder how musicians find ways to cope with that when they're young as well. It must be difficult, isn't it?
It is very difficult, and it is incredibly frustrating if you prepare for a long time and then play and not play the way you thought you would, or something goes wrong. You think you were mistreated, or a decision was taken wrongly, there's so many things that can happen and that can be very frustrating, but they also give you strength. Every time you're not successful, it gives you an experience that might be very important for you to be successful at a later time. You always learn. So I think that's one of the main messages. Going to competitions means you're getting an experience that is important for your personality, for your life, for your career. Whether it's a good experience or bad experience, I don't know. It can be both, but it will be good for you. It will help you one way or the other.
So it's more about personal growth and development.
Absolutely.
Well, Florian, thanks so much. It's been great to chat to you about competitions. Thank you for your time today.
Likewise. Thank you very much.
That's all from this edition of Classeek 15. Our podcasts are available on all platforms and on our website, www.classeek.com, where you can also find Classeek's online concert series and other media on demand. And don't forget to check us out on social media too, at Classeek Music. Thank you for listening, and until next time, goodbye.